Hi, I'm Gary Thorup, founder of the Posterity Project. It's been our honor to produce this video, and we hope you'll love it. Our mission is to help people preserve and share their personal legacy for free. And we do that because we firmly believe everyone has important stories to share, regardless of financial means. On the flip side, this work is a resource-intensive effort. So, to provide this service for free, we really need your help. Please subscribe to this channel. Share links with friends and family on social media. Buy a keepsake from our store. If you're watching this on YouTube, we have links to these and more below this video. Anything you can do to help support our mission would be sincerely appreciated. From the team here at the Posterity Project, thank you, and we hope you cherish this personal legacy video. All right, I think we're good. I think we're finally ready to do this, Fran. All right, we'll get started. We're going to start off with some softball questions to get going. So first of all, if you could tell us your name and the year of your birth.
Hi, my name is Fran. I was born in 1936.
Fran, tell me about your parents. What were your parents' names?
My mother's name was Goldie. My father's name was Israel, but he was called when he got to the States, Irving.
And what years were they born?
1910, both. And they were born in Poland, in the Russian-Polish border.
I'm going to come back to that. That's interesting. How many siblings do you have?
One, I had. Unfortunately, she passed away last year.
What was her name?
Cecile. We called her Seal. And she came to live here, too. Yes, at the atrium.
Was she older or younger?
Younger, 5 years younger.
You have children?
I have 2 sons. My oldest son is David. My younger son is Robert. Want me to tell you where they are?
Go ahead.
David is a chiropractor, and he's now retired, and he lives in North Carolina. And Robert is a human resources director, and he lives here in Delray.
I'm trying to keep my sniffles with me talking.
Me too. You got a little sniffly there for some reason. Perfect. Okay, so that's just baseline stuff. We're going to come back to all those topics: parents, siblings, children. Lots of questions about it. To just kick off the conversation as a quick overview of who Fran Towns is. Like you're walking into a dinner party and you're going to introduce yourself in a 1 to 2 minute recap. How would you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Fran. What's yours? I'd love to get to know you. I'm a woman. I'm Jewish. I'm a mother. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister.
Terrific. Fran, what would you say is your greatest strength?
My ability to put myself forward into any situation. I think that's it.
Can you give me an example of a time that you did that?
When I came here to the atrium, I immediately took on the role of leading a Passover Seder. They had no one to do it, and Lisa, who was the director of activities, grabbed me. And I went right into it, and I then became active in the atrium very quickly.
Now, on the flip side, what would you say is your biggest weakness?
I'm too anxious to help. To help wherever I can and whoever I can. And it's especially come out here in the atrium.
Sounds like one of those things that's strength and a weakness there.
Yeah, it's gotten me into trouble sometimes because I'm too anxious to help. And maybe people don't want to be helped.
You know, there's something to be said about that. Sometimes you go out
Like
of your way.
myself.
Well, very cool. Let's talk a little bit about your parents. Reflecting on your childhood and your time with your parents, what would you say was one of the most important lessons that you learned from them?
To be charitable. They used to have a card game every week in their home, and they put money into the card game. They called it a kitty, and they put money, and it was put aside for charity. And I was witness to that, and it affected me. When I was a little girl, for Hanukkah, we would get money. They called it geld. And I would get the money, my sister would get the money, and we had to share it with the charity box. We didn't get gifts. We didn't keep all of the money. We were taught we had to share. Is there something else I have to say?
Nope.
Do you want more?
Nope. I'm going to pause at the end to give some time for editing, so it might feel a little awkward.
Okay. There's some things that I want to talk about my childhood.
Okay.
Yiddish was spoken in the home. We lived in a 4-family house, and my grandparents lived on the back and on the ground floor, and we lived on the front and the ground floor. And Yiddish was spoken in the home, and my first language was Yiddish. I went to school speaking only and understanding only Yiddish, and I remember going into kindergarten and hiding because I didn't understand anybody and nobody could understand me. I hid in a large dollhouse, I remember, and cried. And my kindergarten teacher took me in tow. Her name was Mrs. Schulman. I remember her to this day because of her kindness. Eventually, I learned English, and eventually my parents learned English. My grandparents, not so much. So I'm second generation American. First generation. First generation.
That's a great story. How old were you? Do you remember how old you were when you finally got a grasp of English?
No, I don't.
Grade school.
In grade school. Most likely I learned in kindergarten.
Thinking about your parents and your life since they passed, what would you like them to know about the life you've led since they passed?
I miss them terribly. I am good like you wanted me to be, Dad. I did all the things I could to be good, as you taught me. And I'm going to cry in a minute.
Is there anything that your parents didn't know about you that you wish they had the opportunity to know about?
No, I don't think so. No. I think I did a lot of the things that I did and accomplished while they were alive.
Do you remember a favorite meal that your mother or father used to make for you as a child?
Yes. Lamb chops with spaghetti and ketchup. Or lamb chops with a baked potato and spinach mashed in it. Those are the two things I remember.
Yeah, those are some unique combos. Who came up with those?
No. No.
Was that no? Who cooked that? Was that your mother?
Yeah.
Was your mother a good cook?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Were your parents strict?
No. No. They had boundaries. I had boundaries. My sister had boundaries, but they weren't strict. No, they were very soft and loving.
How did they punish you if they were unhappy with something you did?
I don't remember being punished. I don't remember being punished. No.
What about you made your parents most proud?
My accomplishments: became a teacher. I organized a rally in Long Island of all the Jewish federations, schools, all the Jewish organizations, and it was a rally to save the Russian Jews, to get them out of Russia. And I was an organizer of that, and they were extremely proud of me for that.
Your sister, Cecile? How did you get along with her as children?
We fought. We shared a bed, not physically, except for pillow fights, but we shared a bedroom, and we fought. We fought until we were adults, until both of us were adults. We argued a lot, but we came together in the end. And we were very loving.
Reflecting on that, do you remember a turning point in your life where you started to come together?
Well, she was very difficult to get along with. And I would give in to her all the time. And I gave in enough so that she accepted that I was loving to her and her sister. And when that happened, when we were both adults, in our 60s,
Do you remember your grandparents' names and the years they were born?
I do not remember the years they were born. My grandmother's name was Sarah, and my grandfather's name was Dave. And he was a ladies' man. And he had a girlfriend that we all knew about, and that he used to bring around to the house. Yes. And I don't remember the years they were born, no. I don't know if I ever knew.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I think we're going to ask the same thing.
Was that relationship with the girlfriend, was polyamory accepted back then, or was it not really talked about?
It's not talked about.
What it was just open in front of your grandmother? She was aware of the situation, I suppose.
I'm not sure of that. I don't remember them fighting, but they fought a lot. I don't remember them fighting over this, but me, my sister, my cousins, my two cousins, they knew about it. We all knew about it. I forget her name now. We even knew her name. My grandmother was a mean woman, mean, homebound, house dress wearing woman. The woman he was with was a lovely, sweet, good, well-dressed woman.
So maybe it was a matter of the potentially the taboo of divorce at the time?
No, couldn't be. Not then.
They could have gotten a divorce had they wanted to?
Yeah, yeah. It's much easier to get a divorce as a Jewish man. because in the Jewish religion, the man gives the divorce to the woman. Now, though, it's changed a bit, and it's more modern, and a woman can get a divorce as well, but not as easily as a man.
Yeah. Any particular ways that your grandparents influenced you?
Not really, no. My parents more. Oh, yes. My grandfather would take me to the synagogue. My father was a progressive socialist Zionist and did not practice the religion. My grandfather did, and he would take us, my sister and me, to the synagogue with him. And that influenced me as a religious person.
That's great. Well, that's an important impression.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to change the topic up a little bit and talk about love.
Okay.
Big question here. How do you know when you found the one?
He was kind. He was beautiful. He was interesting. He came from Burma, my first husband. And I just had that feeling that I loved him and that this was a man I would want to marry and that I could live with and enjoy life with and have children with and raise children with. After my first husband passed away, someone from my second husband's synagogue was friends with someone, the synagogue that I was a principal of the Jewish school in, got us together, and we had dates, and his kindness just left me in love. And I knew that this is a man that I would love to spend the rest of my life with.
Did you ever think about it in terms of a checklist or certain things that you had been looking for? Were you surprised with the people who you fell in love with in any way?
No, I wasn't surprised. I was happy. I was happy.
Do you believe in love at first sight?
Yes. Yes, I do. That happened to me. That happened to me. My first husband lived on a kibbutz in Israel. I was in Israel. And he says he noticed me, but I noticed him too. But yes, I do believe in love at first. The same with my second husband. When I met him, immediately I felt this is a man I could love. He's kind, he's caring, and I started to feel love for him and the hope that we could live together and be happy together and spend the rest of our lives together.
Have your views on love and marriage changed at all as you've gotten older and as society's kind of changed?
No, they haven't. Do you want me to tell that naive story? There's two of them.
All right, go for it.
The first one, I had an older cousin who was like a sister to me, but she lived in Canada. And when she would come to visit us every summer, and we spent a lot of time together, and I respected her as an older girl. And then she got married very young, and I felt I could ask her questions because my parents never spoke to me about sex or about love. They couldn't get into it. And so the first question I asked her was, when you kiss, what do you do with your noses? And that's something that I remember. And then another time, I was a counselor in a camp, and another camp came to visit us. and it was a boys' camp. And we had a casino there, and we were dancing, and we got very close, and I felt something. And when I confided in my friends, I said, I think he had a flashlight in his pocket. I had no idea of what that was. Those are my naive stories.
Well, that's terrific. It sounds like you both had a wonderful evening.
He never came back.
Probably. Well, how old were you at the time?
16.
Well, if you're at a boys' camp or something, like it's not like you can just go hop in a car. Probably I don't think that was driving age yet, 16. So he probably had to stay at the boys' camp, but he probably was really interested in getting back. Do you have those are great stories. They're really good. Do you have any lost love?
One. He was in the youth movement that I was in. It's called Habonim, the Builders. And we became friends and then lovers. And then very shortly after that, he went to Israel to live. And that's how I lost him. He was great. He played the guitar, and he was always the center of the group with the songs that we sang, the work songs. It was great.
Did you ever think about trying to get over to Israel?
I did. I lived there. I lived there for a while.
For him?
No. I went with the youth group that I belonged to. They had a workshop in Israel in a kibbutz. You know what a kibbutz is, right? It's a collective settlement. And no, he was down south and I was up north. No, it wasn't for him. It was for my ideologies.
What would you say makes for a great relationship, a great long-term relationship?
Having things in common, having beliefs in common, having ideas in common. With my second husband, we never watched separate TV programs. We always did everything together, including what we saw on television. And I think those things make for a lasting relationship.
We have 5 more minutes? Okay. I might be able to finish this out. Have you ever had the experience of falling out of love?
No.
Maybe fortunate. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you could think of that youth of today, younger generations, might get wrong about love?
Yes. Can't think of the word now. Beauty, outer beauty. Outer beauty is very important, and that's not what's important. Inner beauty, an inner soul, and inner beauty is what's important, and is what lasts.
Do you think that's something that's changed socially over your life?
Yes, definitely. That's why there are so many divorces.
You think divorce rate has increased due to a focus on physical beauty instead of...
Yes, absolutely. Those are momentary things. My younger son got a divorce. It was terrible. One of the worst things in my life that happened to me.
your son's divorce?
Yeah, yeah. And he still hasn't married. He had a son. They had one child, and he ended up getting custody. He raised him, and he raised a beautiful child, beautiful person. It was a tough, tough life.
Is it appropriate to kiss on a first date?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I need to think about that. Maybe okay. Maybe okay. It's a sign of affection. Yes. Okay. It is.
Very good. Let's move on from love to marriage. How old were you when you first got married?
19. No, 18. 18. I was a mother at 19. I was married in Israel.
I think the average age to marry today is
20.
28 or so today.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the change in the kind of that societal change over time? Do you think that's better or worse?
I think it's better. I think it's better to be more mature, to enter into marriage as a more mature person.
Got a couple questions here that you actually already answered. You already answered this to a degree. I'm going to throw it out there just in case there's something else. But what would you say is the secret to a happy marriage?
As I said before, to have things in common, to have ideas in common, to have a belief in a way of life in common, to do things together, to be together. I think that's it.
Well, let's talk about your children.
Okay.
What are your children's names and what year were they born?
Okay. David is my oldest. He was born in 1961. Robert is the younger one. He was born in 65. And I think I got it wrong.
We'll forgive you.
Okay.
I don't know if your kids will, but we will.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm thinking of. They're 4 years apart, that I remember.
How did you know you wanted to be a mother?
I guess I would see a mother and her children, and it was beautiful in my eyes. And so I thought I would love to have this for me, for myself.
What does it feel like to give birth to a child?
It's a miracle. It's a miracle. It's a gift that we've been given by God, by our society, and it's wonderful to be able to have something that comes from you that you can mold and teach and be happy from and receive love from.
What was the experience like, actually, the physical process of giving birth?
Okay, I had to have a cesarean with David because his umbilical cord was wrapped around his throat, and we had to have an emergency cesarean. And so it was like having an operation. It was scary. Everything was scary about it. But then to hear the cry of the baby, that was beautiful. And then in those days, once you had a cesarean, you had to continue to have the cesarean. It was also nice because I made an appointment. I gave birth by appointment. It wasn't a surprise at night.
Do you have any advice for expectant mothers?
Just enjoy the experience. And although it may be painful, you'll forget about the pain very shortly, and you'll remember the wonderful things that a child gives you.
What would you say would be the ideal age to become a parent?
I think the age that I was 19. I think being older is more difficult. I think the experience itself is difficult, more painful perhaps. And I think the ideal age would be the age that I had my children.
If this was your last opportunity to leave a message for your children, what would you say to them?
Enjoy your family, enjoy your children, enjoy your life. It's a gift given to us. Don't waste it. That's what I would tell my children.
Let's talk about you as a parent. Were you a strict parent?
Yes and no. um, Not really. No, not really. We had boundaries, and we expected them to keep within the boundaries, but that's it. Be kind to others. Share. Share whatever you do, whatever you accomplish.
How did you punish your children if they did something wrong?
They were grounded. We never hit them. We never hit them. I remember one story with my younger son. He was a rebel. He was tough. And one day we asked him to help clean the house. Well, he went around telling everybody that we made him clean the floors with a toothbrush. So we got the toothbrush and we made him clean the floors with a toothbrush. That was the punishment. I don't remember punishing David.
Punishment, spanking and things like that, corporal punishment. It, was that a conscious decision between you and your husband?
Yes. Yes.
What would you say was your proudest moment as a parent?
When they graduated college. When they graduated and became something and made something of themselves. And of course, their family that they have. Very proud of them, too.
What do you miss about your children being younger?
Being there, being together, living together. We always insisted that we ate together, too. We sat down to a meal together. We were together for family things. I miss that.
Did you have a favorite thing to do with your children?
Go to synagogue, actually. Go together, pray together.
At bedtime, would you ever sing songs to your children?
We read, I remember reading to them. I don't remember singing to them, no. Maybe a lullaby, yes, when they were younger. Yeah.
Did you have a go-to lullaby to sing?
What?
Was there a certain lullaby that you would sing that you remember?
I don't remember. The only one I can remember is Lullaby and Good Night and Sleep Tight. And I don't remember the rest.
Was there a certain children's book that you just asked you to read over and over as a kid? Do you remember
I
that?
don't remember. No.
Anything that you wish your children knew about you that they don't?
Some of the things I'm telling you now, we never stop to talk about them like that. There are some things they knew about me, but not much.
Do you have any regrets as a parent?
No. No, I don't. We loved them, we hugged them, we told them we loved them. I don't have any regrets.
All right, we're going to change it up a little bit. So this is going to be a little bit more playful. We're going to move into some playful, and then we'll come back to some stuff. What was the most amount of money you ever won, and how did you spend it?
I never won. Never. Never had a winning. I hated gambling. I still hate gambling because I never win, and it's boring to me. But now, since I'm here, I'm playing poker. And I just won $3. But lotteries or things like that, never. There would be a kind of an auction where everybody in an organization, and they had prizes for almost everyone, except me. I was one of the few people who won nothing.
It's pretty good. That's just how it rolls sometimes. Just if you could be a 10-year-old again for one day, what would it be that you'd like to do?
I love to ride a bicycle. I never was able to ride it, and I didn't. And my parents never tried to teach me. I think they thought I would get hurt. They were very protective because of my handicap. I also never learned to swim, and I would love to be able to swim. And it was also because of the handicap.
We're going to come back to that in the next section. I want to talk about that in a moment. Do you have a secret celebrity crush?
Robert Redford, George Clooney. That's it.
Was there a particular movie or something that really was like, just
No,
gotcha?
no, just his being, just their being.
What's the most beautiful place you've ever been to?
The Grand Canyon. Magnificent. Absolute beauty. And that's it. Grand Canyon. I've been to many beautiful places, but I think the Grand Canyon was the most awe-striking for me.
What's the best way to get a conversation started with someone you're attracted to?
I don't remember.
Was there any good pickup line used on you when you were younger?
No.
Tell me about your first kiss.
I'm trying to remember who. It was probably David. It was lovely. He was just my idol when I saw him and met him. It was beautiful. That's it.
What's the most serious crime you've ever committed?
I was too good. I didn't commit a crime, except maybe lie every once in a while, but that's it. I was a goody-goody. I still am. When I'm told this is the rule, this is what you have to do, I do it. And I resent that others don't.
You didn't even get a traffic ticket?
Yes, yes. I made a left turn when I wasn't allowed to.
Gotcha. I knew there was something. You talked a little bit about a couple things earlier, but maybe there's something else. What was your most embarrassing moment?
When I found out that it wasn't a flashlight. And I found it out from my friends, and that was embarrassing.
Do you have a favorite joke?
Terrible joke teller. Terrible joke teller. No.
Prove it.
No, I can't.
There's not one you got buried deep down in there?
No.
Do you have a favorite song?
Yes. It's from Phantom of the Opera. And brain's not working. Name's one of the songs about love.
Can you sing a verse?
No, can't remember. It was a song that I chose for when I got married the second time. I love that song, and it's troubling me that I can't think of it. Maybe it'll come to me later.
That's fine.
All I ask of you, maybe?
Yes, thank you. All I ask of you.
No. No, I know it generally. I probably have heard the song. Andrew Lloyd Webber, right? Do you do any impressions?
Me? No. No.
Do you dance at all?
I used to. I used to do a lot of folk dancing and social dancing. But now I can't. Unfortunately, I can't.
Have you ever seen a ghost?
I think I did. Right after my first husband passed away, I lived in Long Island, and my bedroom was on the second floor, and I was very distraught. And at night, when I was in bed, I believe I saw a figure in the corner sitting in a chair with like a robe over his head. I think it was a ghost, but I'm not sure. Didn't approach me, just sat on the chair as though he were watching me. I believed then it was my husband sitting and watching and taking care of me then.
How did the experience make you feel?
Protected and sad at the same time. It was a little frightening too, but I got over it.
Do you have any hidden talents?
Hidden talents, things I never could do. Is that what you mean?
Things that you can do, but most people don't know you can do them.
Oh, tell jokes. Be funny.
That's your hidden talent?
Yeah,
You said before you didn't have a good joke to tell.
I can't tell jokes. I meant be funny. Just make funny remarks.
Got it. What's the worst lie you ever told?
I don't remember. I don't remember. Honest.
That might be one right now.
No.
So there are a few questions that you had provided as prompts. I want to talk about your handicap. Can you explain what your handicap is and how that's affected your life?
Okay. When my mother was pregnant, when she was giving birth, I'm sorry, she was in labor for over 24 hours, and they didn't take me with cesarean. They do it much faster in later times, like with me, and so that I was born with forceps, and they were having a very difficult time, and they grabbed anywhere they could get hold of. See this indentation in my face? They tried there and it didn't work. Then they grabbed me here, and I just can't think of the name of what they call it, but it's some kind of palsy. They killed the nerve. So I was born with this handicap. And I went through life with this handicap, and I learned how to use my arm and how to do things and not stop because I couldn't because of the handicap. I drove. I played piano for a while. I had children, took care of the children by myself. I became a teacher. I did artwork. I sewed all my clothes. I did a lot of stuff.
Can you be specific? So how did that nerve
I can't.
damage happen? What does that mean for
I
your...
cannot raise the arm. My fingers and my hand, I cannot open. However, I learned how to use it as a support to my left arm. And a lot of people don't. I knit, I crocheted, I did everything. So I didn't let that stop me from doing what I wanted to do.
So from the moment you were born, so it's impacted your whole life.
Yes.
What message would you give to other people who were born with handicaps?
Well, first I want to say it made me a stronger person. And that's what I would help others. I would help others with handicap, like a mother would come with her daughter, and I tell them to come to my house, come see what I've accomplished, come see that you can do it, your daughter can do it too. And it affected my life and my accomplishing things. Didn't stop me. If I saw something I wanted to do, I tried it. If I couldn't do it, I left it and started something else.
That's a great explanation. I think there are probably a lot of people who were born with some sort of handicap. And did you ever get to, did the thought, why me, ever enter your head through your life?
No, no.
I feel like that would be a natural thought for somebody to have. Why don't you
Yes,
think that?
absolutely. There is somebody here who, because of a stroke, has the same exact hand and she does nothing. I told her I would teach her and help her to learn to crochet again. And she said, I would love to crochet, but I can't do it. And that's it. There are many people, I'm sure, who give up and say, I can't. That's it.
What's the difference in the thought process? Why do you think that you look at it from a different perspective?
I'm not sure. I really don't know. It's been my life to say I can do it if I try. If I can't do it, fine. I'll go on to something else. But that's just been my life and my personality. I have a strong personality.
How did your identity affect your life?
It is my life. It is my life. It's how I lead my life because I identify very strongly as a Jew, as a Jewish person, and coming from a life of a people who have been persecuted and have overcome. And so I overcame.
Did you ever face prejudice, religious prejudice?
Now, only now, never before, but now. And I believe here.
At this facility?
Yes,
First time in your life?
yes.
Wasn't the answer I expected.
Only one person.
Okay, so in the scheme of things, limited.
Yeah,
Well, there's always one, isn't there?
I guess so, but never before in my life. I've known of it, I've read of it, I've seen movies about it, but never experienced it. And was very grateful that I never experienced it. There are people who now especially are afraid to wear a Jewish star or a kippah, a yarmulke, and I won't. I won't be afraid. I'll do it. I'll wear it when I want to.
Why do you think there can be such passionate, extreme feelings about religion?
I'll never understand it. I'll never understand it. But this thing called anti Semitism has been around and it's been under the rocks, and every once in a while it creeps out from under the rocks. It's been centuries and for thousands of years. I don't know why. There's something you learn in sociology that I forget what it's called, but every group has to have someone that they feel higher than, and then that hatred comes out.
Probably going to come back to talk about that in a little bit more detail. I just want to make sure I get through your list of questions.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about your choice to live at the atrium.
I'm having a lot of physical issues, and my one thing I had was an infection, and I went nuts. I couldn't remember how to give myself my medication, couldn't remember my son's phone number, and my children became afraid. And I was living alone and a widow by then. And they were afraid for me to stay alone. Also, I was becoming like a hermit. I didn't go out, I didn't do things, and they were afraid, and that's not me. And they were afraid for that. So they boasted the idea to me. And I said, at first I said no. And then I said, okay, let's do it. And they chose 6 places, and they took me to 6 of them to look at. And then I chose which one. And I chose this one for 2 reasons. One, its proximity to FAU. And I thought that we would have lectures and things like that from FAU, which are very interesting for me. And also, I met Beverly. And Beverly was someone that I felt right away I could be friends with. And we had a lot of things in common, and we would have a lot of things in common. And we do. And that's how I chose the atrium.
Are you happy with your choice?
Yes. Yes, I am. I'm very content, very happy. The friendship means a lot to me.
What would you say is the best part about living here?
I guess life is easy. I'm cooked for, cleaned for, I'm taken care of. Activities are there for me to take part in. Life is good. It's interesting. It's not boring.
That's great. Tell me about the most important friendship in your life.
Okay. Roz and Leo Fishelberg. I met them when I enrolled my children in a Hebrew day school in Long Island, and that was a little more than 50 years ago. Leo was a survivor of two camps, Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen, which was a terrible place. And he told us many stories. After our prompting, we prompted him to do so. He didn't do that before. He was a speaker in schools talking about hatred and about the Holocaust. She was just a wonderful friend, and she still is. She lives here nearby, and we go out to lunch together. And I love them still. He died, unfortunately. She is still my friend of over 50 years.
What makes for a great best friend?
We could confide in each other. We have similar interests. We both love music, the opera, classical music, and love to dance. And she till today, she dances folk. She's very, very active person. I envy her in a way because she's physically more able than I am.
I'm going to do a lightning round to try and pick up some highlights of your interests, favorite things. So I'm going to run through it, just a quick answer for each one, and we'll. One. Do you have a favorite color?
Green.
Favorite movie?
Fiddler on the Roof.
You like musicals?
Love musicals. Love all of them.
Favorite musical artist?
Barbra Streisand.
Favorite book?
The Source.
Do you know who that's by?
It just went out of my head. I can't think.
Apart from the Grand Canyon, which we already talked about, favorite country or place you traveled to?
Israel.
Favorite dessert?
Ice cream. Chocolate.
Favorite sport at all?
None. No sports. And I was lucky to marry two men who were also not very interested in sports.
So I'm not going to ask you who your favorite athlete is. You have a favorite type of car?
No.
Favorite meal?
Now it became Israeli food. Used to be Chinese food.
Is there a certain dish?
Fish?
Certain
Dish?
Israeli dish?
Oh, yeah. It's called young chicken, and it comes in a pita. bread filled with salads and sauces and hummus, which everybody knows what it is.
Favorite TV show?
On PBS. I can't think. On PBS.
The news show?
No, it's been around.
Antique Roadshow?
No.
Masterpiece?
Hmm?
Masterpiece Theater?
That's it. Thank you.
You're here for all the support. Fears, life fears. What's the single greatest source of fear or anxiety you've had over the course of your life?
That my left arm or left hand would become useless, and I would be left with no arms or hands to work with. And in a certain way, I'm trying to stave it off now. It's happened. My left arm has become weak, and some of my fear has come to be.
Was that a constant fear that plagued you through life?
Yes. Yes. Always afraid that I would be left helpless. That's a big fear of mine, to be helpless.
Did you live life differently with that thought and that fear?
No. No.
What would you say is the secret to living into your 80s and beyond?
To take care of yourself, to take care of your health, to take care of your body and your mind, and to be active in your mind and body.
Are there any specific ways that you've tried to do that?
Well, I read, I listen to lectures, I watch TV, I try to do exercise, I try to eat right, healthy.
Holistically speaking, at what age did you feel you're physically and emotionally feel your best?
When I was 19.
Just downhill from there?
It started.
At what age did you feel your worst?
Now. It's difficult now.
Do you have any health tips to share?
Just to eat healthy and exercise. Keep your body moving and keep your mind going. Do things with your mind. Exercise it like you do your body.
So I already know the answer to this next question, but it's a specific one that I want to ask directly. Do you believe in God?
Absolutely. Yes.
What's your conception of God?
As a spiritual being who is benevolent and wants the best for humanity and created the world for humanity. That's my conception.
All right, day 2, but we're going to pretend this is all just happened in one sitting. Thanks for hopping back in and going back through this real quick. So we were talking yesterday, we were talking about your faith, the importance of your faith, your belief in God. And I had asked you this question. I'd love you to go through it. What was your most profound spiritual experience?
I had 2. One of them was a trip to the Grand Canyon with my husband, and we took a plane ride through the canyon. And the beauty of the Grand Canyon had me realizing what God's accomplishments were and how profoundly spiritual I felt from it.
Was there something in particular that you saw there that really just resonated with you in a spiritual way?
No, just a connection to God's creation. That's mainly what it was. How beautiful it was, how magnificent it was. That's it. The colors, the formations. I saw different shapes in the formations. Just magnificent.
Have you had any other spiritual experience?
Yes. The other one was here in the atrium very recently. There was a man who sits like opposite where I do in the dining room. And the day before this occurred, he was he was not communicative until then, but that day he started talking with his table mates and laughing with them, and he was very animated, and he wasn't before that. Um, the next day, he came down to the dining room, and he was like asleep. His aide tried to have him fed, and she couldn't do it. He wouldn't wake up. Tried. Then she gave up and went in the corner and made a phone call, and I found out later that it was to 911. Then she came back to the table, and she must have said to herself, I'm going to try one more time. And she tried to give him a drink. And lo and behold, he took the drink. He woke up and he started laughing and talking with his aide. And I realized that I'd witnessed one of God's miracles, that he was awake and alive, and that perhaps he had died. So I said, I'm going to take the opportunity to try to question him. And I went over to him, and first of all, I told him, I asked him if he was a praying man, and he said, yes, of course. And then I said, you should pray to God because he created a miracle for you. He woke you up. And then I said to him, did you dream while you were sleeping now? And he said, yes. And I said, what did you dream? And he said, nice things. So I said to him, what nice things? Didn't answer. So I prompted him and I said, did you see relatives of yours who are gone? And he said, yes. Were they calling to you? Yes. And then I realized that he'd had a near-death experience from things that I've read. And that to me was like another miracle.
Having experienced that and having that conversation with the man afterwards, how did that impact your thoughts on passing?
Um, Along with other things that I've read or seen on television about experiences similar to this one that the man had had, um, it made me feel more comfortable with the fact that I'm not immortal, that I will one day die. And I'm going to say something. I was afraid of death before, but I'm no longer afraid.
What do you think happens to us when we die?
I believe in the afterlife. Um, I believe that we go to some place where we're going to see our relatives again. Going to see my mother, my father, my sister, friends that have gone, and made me feel nice, good. No specific place. I can't, just a, a place.
Heaven?
I don't know if it's heaven. Okay, call it heaven.
What did you want to be when you were a child?
I wanted to be a ballet dancer. Couldn't do it because of my handicap, because you need to make certain movements with your arms, and I wasn't able to do it. But I tried.
What was it that you loved so much about dancing?
Well, first of all, the music. I love classical music. And secondly, the beauty of the movements and just the beauty of it.
Thinking about growing up and the careers, the jobs you eventually had, what was the best job that you ever had?
Being a teacher, being a teacher, and being a teacher to adults. I've taught babies, little ones. I've taught older children. I've taught adults, and the adults are the most receptive, and I felt I had the most to offer to them.
Was there any specific experience you can remember as a teacher where you really made an impact on someone's life?
Parents have come to me, especially of kindergarten children, who have said to me that I've made an impact on their life. And also, I remember my kindergarten teacher, and I remember her name to this day. And so I've received letters, mail from parents of the small children.
Was financial wealth something you experienced in your life?
What do you consider wealth? I've been very comfortable. I've been poor. I've been medium, but I've been comfortable in my later life. I married a man who was an electrical electrical engineer. Can I talk a little bit about him?
Yeah, absolutely.
He has his name on the moon. He worked for Grumman, and he was part of working on the moon lander, the lander. And they had a time when whoever worked on it signed this thing, this board, and then they made it into metal somehow, and they took this thing that was made out of metal onto the moon with the first moon landing. And so his name is on the moon. He also worked on the original GPS, and he was a genius. He really was. We had once, he remembered everything he read. And once he gave a lecture in my synagogue on the story of Hanukkah, and he gave dates. Oh, he forgot his notes. He left his notes at home. And he gets up on the stage and he starts to talk and talk with dates and names and countries and history without a single note. Absolutely amazing man.
That's really cool. So I've been told my grandfather worked on the Apollo program for Draper Labs out of Cambridge, Mass. He worked on the navigational system before GPS. They used an accelerometer to identify where you were
Wow.
in a place. And so I have a picture of him standing in front of the Saturn V rocket before it lifted off. It's It's a precious picture I have of him.
We had one of him standing in front of a makeup of the lunar landing. I wonder if it was the same picture.
That's cool. That's really cool. Um, whoa. Gonna have to, all right, we'll do a little quick pause. Okay, we should be good. Something you had just mentioned that I thought was interesting is through your life you've experienced um, different levels of financial being. You said you've been poor and you've been comfortable and maybe even, depending on your definition, wealthy. What's the difference between them, and is wealthy really change things in terms of the quality of life you had?
Yes, definitely. Absolutely. Do you want me to talk about the differences?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. When I was poor when I was young. My parents were poor. Um, they came from Europe with no education. My father self educated himself, but his jobs were not too productive and with money. I can't think of the word now. He was he used to buy groceries that went out of business and would auction them off to the middleman, It didn't produce much of a living, but we managed. Um, for instance, we never went to camp, but we did when my mother got a job at the camp, and we were able to go to camp, summer camp, because she was earning money at this camp, and it was going towards our tuition. We managed. When I was in Israel, we were very poor. For instance, we had one chicken for the whole week between the two of us. And I used to make a meal out of bones. um, we didn't have meat. We had 2 eggs a week. Sometimes we would have butter. Bread was there, cheese was there. But that's to give you an idea of how poor we were. When we got back to the States, I would buy like a pound of chopped meat and made I don't know how many meals out of it. That's about the example. Then when I married my second husband, um, he was earning a good living as an engineer, and that's when my life became much easier and more comfortable, and we were able to travel a lot too.
Do you think your experience uh, living through poverty changed your perspective of wealth or allowed you to appreciate it more than others may?
Of course, of course. I, to this day, am very careful with how much water I use, how much electricity I use. I'm much more aware of, what's the word? Help, of being conservative.
How many grandchildren do you have?
I have 5 grandchildren and I have 7 great-grandchildren so far,
And counting.
and hopefully counting, right?
What's the most rewarding part of being a grandparent or great grandparent?
The love, that there was unconditional love from me to them and from them to me. I'll never forget how we would come to visit them, or when they would come to visit us, the grandchildren, that is. The big smiles on their faces when they saw us. It's priceless, priceless. That's it.
What's your favorite thing to do with them? Or when they were younger?
My grandchildren, see, my great grandchildren live in North Carolina or Virginia, and I very rarely see them. Most times I just see them on the phone. My grandchildren live close by to where we lived in Long Island, and my son and daughter-in-law would give them to myself and my husband to babysit for, and we would take them places and do things with them. We took them to a science museum once. They sat on dinosaur eggs. We took them to a farm that was nearby, and there were buffalo on the farm, and they could see the animals. Just being with them and spending time with them. And they would come to dinner every Friday night, and we would share dinner.
Tell me a little bit about your education. What's the highest level of education you attained?
I've had 2 years of regular college and 4 years of Hebrew college.
College admissions has changed a lot over the years. It was predominantly male a while ago. How did it feel being, were you, well, your father was educated. He must have had a higher level degree as an engineer.
My father? No, you mean my husband.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. Your husband. So were you one of the first in your family to go to college?
Yes.
How did that make you feel, and how did that make your parents feel?
I felt wonderful. I felt that I was being educated. My sons were the first in the family to graduate 4-year college, and that made us very excited and proud.
I'm going to jump around a little bit on some questions here. What's the best thing about getting older?
More wisdom to keep my mouth shut. The worst thing, seeing people dying, family, friends. That's the worst thing. Living beyond them.
How do you cope with, how do you process that sort of grief of loss over time?
I go through the stages of grief, and then I go on. I go on with my life, and I try to make something more of my life.
Do you think there's anything you could share that nobody else knows about you?
That I once played the piano. Not well. I tried, though.
What's one historical event that's really etched into your memory?
Actually, there are two. The first is the death of President Kennedy and his funeral. And the second one was 9/11. Third, the birth of the State of Israel.
Those are three biggies. The JFK assassination What was it that really stood out to you about that? Why do you think it was so impactful?
Because of the loss to the country. When he became president, it was like our last hope is here. He's going to change things. He's wonderful. And then he died so young. That's what stands out in my mind. They called them the beautiful people. Um, what's the name of that musical? Do you know what I'm talking about?
What's it about?
About the king and this city, the country that he was the king of. It's right on the tip of my tongue.
Hmm.
I,
Broadway knowledge isn't
a
up to
Broadway.
snuff.
Where is he?
I know they would know. Yeah. Um, uh,
A magical country that he was the king of.
it's going to come back to you tonight.
I know. The song is almost, from the show, it is almost on the tip of my tongue too, and I can't think of it. Okay.
Come back to that. um, what's the best advice you ever received in life?
To go to school and graduate.
That advice that you'd like to pass on to your grandkids and great grand?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My grandkids have. My grandkids have all, and they're all in good professions and very comfortable. And be a kind person.
When you think about life, a life that you've led, probably a lot of highs and lows. When you're going through the lows, loss of a loved one, an event that happens to you that might be unfair, that is an accident, how do you bounce back from those things? How do you keep moving forward?
It's just a strength to think that you have to get back to life. Life is important, life is a great gift, and we can't waste it by mourning forever.
What's the most amazing technological advance you've experienced in your life?
The iPhone. The iPhone and the phone that you talk to on your wrist like Dick Tracy. We thought that would never happen, but we've lived to see it.
Do these modern marvels fit into your life today? Do you use them?
Yes, yes. My sister had to talk me into it, and I'm forever grateful to her because I get to see my grandchildren on FaceTime, and that's the most amazing thing. And I talk to my niece who lives in Israel, also on a phone. That's amazing. But I couldn't have done it if I didn't have my phone. She made me get it, and she was right.
Are you optimistic about the future of humanity?
I'm going to change my answer. Yes. I think in the end, humanity will come to its senses and we'll get through this dark times and we'll come out into the light again.
That's a big change. What's happened in the last 24 hours?
I thought about it afterwards. And I said, I gave the wrong answer. I'm an optimistic person. And I thought about it and I said, gee, I gave the wrong answer. I think we'll come through. I hope.
Me too.
I want my grandchildren, great grandchildren, to have a good life, a bright life.
Is there anything still, do you feel that you have anything left to accomplish?
Always, always. I can't stop. Even now at the atrium, I'm teaching, I'm leading different groups. I'm very active. Can't stop and do nothing like a lot of people do.
What would you say makes life worth living today?
Life, life.
What would you say was your biggest purpose in life?
To teach, to help.
What's the best part about living at the atrium?
The friends I've made, the activities that I'm taking part in, having things done for me, like cooking, cleaning, help with dressing. Good life here. It's a good life here. I wouldn't change it, hopefully.
What's your favorite part? Is there anything about living here that's pleasantly surprised you?
Well, it's not a surprise. I was expecting it to happen. The activities, the things to do, the pleasant things to do. That's it.
Would you recommend living at the atrium?
Yes. Yes. I've heard from people who have been other places who say that the food's better here, the activities are better here, the people are better here.
What have you thought of your experience with the Posterity Project in this interview?
I enjoyed it immensely. I'm really thankful to you for bringing it to us. I don't know if I ever would have done anything like this to leave to my family as a legacy. And I'm very grateful to you for doing it.
It's my pleasure. I love doing it.
Hmm.
What do you think? Do you have any recommendations on how we can pursue our mission better, our mission to help people preserve and share their personal legacy? Is there any way you can think of ways that we could do that to help people?
No, just present it again and have the people who have participated in it speak to the rest of the residents to get moving, to get off the couch and to take part in it because it's very rewarding. I'm looking forward to giving this to my family, the record of this.
Any questions for me?
No.
Fran, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. It's been wonderful spending time talking to you. Twice. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank Evan.
Thank Evan.